Hey
Whale
everybody!
Tales.
Yes, it's Whale Tales time. Um, this was our
Hopefully you know
prompt. Yeah. Uh, this is going up super late.
that. Getting read super late too.
Yeah.
That's my bad.
But this was supposed to be our stories for the month of April.
Sure.
Yeah, April. Because it's our fourth story.
Yes.
Our prompt this week, this month, last month, whatever. This prompt is one that I chose, and it's Werebeasts. We're wolves, we're sharks, we're boars, all that kind of stuff, all up for grabs. So, since I chose the prompt, I'll be going first.
Yeah, you will.
All right.
Read it.
It was an average night inside the Stuck Pig, a seedy bar in a small town in western Chiron. The customers were the usual mix of locals and traveling adventurers. The air was filled with smoke and stories. Empty mugs banged on tables and were refilled as grizzled warriors boasted loudly of their exploits, enrapturing the citizens with tales of their strength or cunning. Suddenly the door flew open. The chatter ceased and all eyes turned towards the entrance to behold the tall, thin man in simple brown robes. His unkempt gray hair led down to a scruffy beard and mustache that covered the lower half of his face, and a large holy symbol of Ancina hung around his neck. He wore a belt from which hung an assortment of flasks, daggers, and strange wooden implements. He held an old, battered crossbow in one hand and a coin purse in the other. His piercing green eyes swept around the room, and he held the purse aloft, jingling the coins within. "Your town is in danger," he growled, his voice low and hoarse. "I offer compensation to any brave men who will help me put down the threat." He jerked his head toward an empty table in the corner. "I will be taking my drink there, should any wish to discuss my offer." He'd been seated for mere moments when a trio of travelers approached. There were two women and a man. The first woman was short and well-muscled. An enormous two-handed blade was slung across her back. She wore a signet ring indicating that she was a member of the Knights of Arthak, a proud order which only accepted the most talented fighters into its ranks. The other woman was older, perhaps in her late 30s or 40s. She wore an intricate lavender dress that seemed to shimmer and flow, independent of her own movement, and carried a slender, delicately carved wooden staff. Unlike the knight, whose red hair didn't even reach to her shoulders, this woman wore her locks long. They were jet black and fell nearly to her waist. Her eyes, the same light purple as her dress, met those of the stranger and did not leave them. The sole male member of the trio, however, was eyeing the bag of gold coins that had been offered. He was dressed in simple dark green garments, including fingerless gloves and a long scarf. Tell he's cool because he has fingerless gloves.
Right. You can tell he's douche because he's got a scarf. Is it winter?
No.
Oh, what an asshole.
Winter's not even coming.
Jesus. Watch Game of Thrones.
His brown hair was pulled back in a short ponytail. Although there were no apparent weapons on his person, he's Jeff apparently. Although there were no apparent weapons on his person, he was wearing strange, heavy-looking gauntlets. The old man looked the trio over. I don't think gauntlets, just an aside here, I don't think gauntlets is really the right word, because he's wearing gloves. They're just like on his, he has these weird heavy things on his wrist. I didn't really know what to call them.
Bracers?
Yeah, bracers, that's it. Yeah. I couldn't think of the word, thanks. Okay, yeah.
Archery.
Although there were no apparent weapons on his person, he was wearing strange, heavy-looking bracers.
Bracers?
Or van braces, if you want to be fancy.
Oh, shit. I can think of one word for it before, but now you got two.
Yeah.
W braces. W1.
The old man looked the trio over. "So," he began, taking a sip from his tankard, "you three are interested in my proposition?" "Aye," the warrior woman said, grinning. "I'm always up for a scrap, especially if it means saving the town." "And I never turn down a good reward," her male companion chimed in, indicating the coin purse. There was silence for a moment. The stranger looked to the long-haired woman. "And you?" he asked. "I'll decide once you've given us the details," she replied, meeting his gaze evenly. He nodded. "I've been on the trail of some dangerous men for some time now. Recently they've taken up residence in an abandoned church outside of town and turned it into their base of operations. They're evil folk. No good can come to this place with them nearby. Now that I've caught up to them, I mean to finally put an end to them, but there are too many for me to face alone." "Tell us more about these men," the young knight said. "Cultists of Drosnaka, the Night Lord," came the reply. "They've undergone forbidden rituals in order to become servants of darkness. Werebeasts." The three adventurers exchanged a look. Werebeasts? Asked the young man, a tone of uncertainty in his voice. Aye, the other man said. Half man, half bat. They grow en- they grow enormous leather wings, sharp fangs. They blend into the shadows so well you can scarcely see the monsters. They certainly sound intimidating, admitted the man in green. How many are there? Questioned the woman in purple. 7, the old man replied. It will be difficult to fight them all, even with 4 of us. We might not all survive. But I'm willing to offer you 300 gold apiece, plus a share of whatever spoils they have within their lair. You can count me in, the knight quickly spoke. I love to test my blade against these werebats. The name is Jade, by the way. They call me Merrick, the green-garbed man said, and for 300 gold I'd kill a dozen of these lycanthropes, and marry Mother of Town besides. I am Lena, said the older woman, and I shall aid you as well. The old man shook each of their hands in turn. You may call me Isaac. I am glad for your help. It's several hours' journey to the beast's lair. We ought to rest up for the night and depart in the morning. After a few drinks and some strategic discussion, the 4 of them turned in for the night. The next morning they met at the edge of town, each prepared for the trials ahead. Isaac was dressed in the same ragged robes as the night before, his crossbow slung across his back. However, there seemed to be an even greater profusion of strange implements in his belt now. Jade was decked out in heavy-looking armor. It was plain and unadorned, save for a few sigils at the shoulders, elbows, and feet. Isaac had heard tales of the Knights of Arthak, and surmised that despite its simple appearances, the armor held some powerful secrets. She hefted her enormous blade over her shoulder one-handed, as if its tremendous weight was nothing to her. Lena had switched her lavender dress for a dark blue one, though it maintained the odd shimmering effect. In addition to her staff, she now had a dagger at her hip. Merrick looked exactly as he had the night before. Dark green clothes, a long scarf over his face, fingerless gloves, and heavy vambraces. Are we all ready? Isaac growled, and the others nodded in approval. Sorry, that wasn't very growly. Are we all ready? Isaac growled, and the others nodded in approval. After a few hours of travel, the abandoned cathedral was in sight, and the group stopped to finalize their plans. Jade, you'll assault from the front to draw their attention. Be wary, these beasts are quick, and if they manage to swarm you, even your armor will do you no good. That is why you, Lena, will need to support her with your magic. Merrick, you claim to be skilled in the art of stealth? Indeed, sir, Merrick nodded. Then you and I will move around the back while they are distracted and strike from there. We won't be able to keep the group trapped between us. They'll likely take flight once Merrick and I make our presence known. But if we can take out some of them in the initial assault, the rest will be easier to finish off. Is everyone clear? The others murmured their assent, and the group split into pairs, Jade and Lena moving straight ahead, and Isaac and Merrick circling around behind. As Jade reached the front of the building, she thought she saw a movement in the corner of her eye. She turned quickly to her left, but saw only a few trees. Looking back to the church, she could swear a shadow flickered across some of the windows. Fiends, she called out, entering a fighting stance. Show yourselves. I am here to deliver justice on behalf of the Knights of Arthak. She heard a hiss and the flutter of wings. Before she had time to react, the beasts were upon her. 4 creatures, the size and approximate shape of men, but with enormous leathery wings instead of arms. They had the squashed snouts, sharp fangs, and pointed ears of a bat. Their bodies were covered in a layer of soft brown fur, and claws extended from their feet. Swooping down from the nearby trees and the top of the cathedral itself, the 4 werebats slammed into her from every direction, spinning her around and knocking the breath out of her. Luckily, her armor was thick enough to withstand the initial blows, and, being a trained knight, she recovered quickly, slamming a mailed fist into the face of one of her attackers and attempting to fend off another with her blade. The beast shrieked in pain, but continued their assault, claws digging into her armor, attempting to tear it off piece by piece. She knew that if she did not act fast, they would succeed, and she would not survive long without its protection. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning shot forth and struck one of the Batmen squarely in the back, blasting it away from Jade. The other monsters scattered in surprise, while the stricken one rose up again, snarling fiercely, only for a spear of ice to shoot through its chest, killing it. Jade turned to see Lena standing some way away and nodded her thanks before returning her attention to her attackers. One of the werebats flew off towards the mage, while the other 2 dove at Jade once more. This time, however, she was prepared. She reared back with her blade and swung it forward with all of her might, and though one of the attackers managed to nimbly dodge out of the way, the other was cleanly bisected. It's like the long way, too.
Shit.
Oh, yeah, it's intense. Aha. One of the werebats flew off toward the mage, while the other 2 drove. I already read that one. Sorry. Lost my place a little bit. It was at this point that another of the beasts crashed through one of the windows of the abandoned church, a multitude of arrows sticking out of it as though it were an enormous pincushion. It struggled to its feet and began weakly flapping its wings, but before it could leave the ground, another bolt flew out of the building, striking it between the eyes. Before the body had hit the ground, Isaac bolted through the now broken window, and yet another of the fiends exited after him. This one was closely followed by Merrick. The werebat flapped desperately, ascending as fast as it could, but a soft whirring noise emitted from Merrick's bracers, and out shot a small dagger connected to the device by a chain. The blade buried itself in the back of the bat. Merrick wrapped his hand around the chain and yanked with all of his might, pulling the shrieking monstrosity earthward.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like him. Meanwhile, he chopped his other hand forward, sending another blade swinging out of his other bracer. This one slashed through one of the quarry's membranous wings, sending it plummeting. With a single motion, he caused both blades to retract, pulling the monster towards him. Still stunned from the impact of its crash, the normally nimble creature was unable to escape the young man, and Merrick quickly snapped his foe's neck. Jade, Merrick cried, seeing his friend still locked in combat with the werebeast that had avoided her blade. He began to run toward her. No, she shouted back, I've got this. Go help Lena. Lena was indeed struggling, though she had many strong magics at her disposal. Her nemesis was quick and strong, and had managed to land a few blows. Although she was holding it at bay for now, it certainly had her on the defensive. Merrick ran to her aid while Isaac raised his crossbow and took aim at Jade's opponent. Just a quick aside here, magics against Bub with a K? I think I've done that like once per story so far.
Okay. Good.
Jade had managed to grab hold of one of the werebat's wings, and now she pulled it close. Her sword was too bulky and awkward to use at this range, and she tossed it aside, instead clenching her fist and drawing back her arm. The runic symbol on the elbow of her armor began to glow, and suddenly her arm pistoned forward, slamming into the bat's face with far more force than an average human could muster. It howled in pain and twisted away, managing to wriggle free of the knight's grasp and flying upwards. Isaac fired a few bolts, and though some found their mark, none were fatal. Oh no, you don't, Jade growled. More of her armor sigils began to activate. This time it was the ones on her shoulders. Great steel wings materialized from them, and the woman rocketed into the sky even faster than the werebat she was pursuing. She caught up to him quickly, overtook him, and flung herself downward in a powerful kick. It connected with the beast's face, and the strength of it drove them both down to the ground. Needless to say, the monster did not survive. Merrick and Lena rushed towards Jade, having managed to defeat the other werebat. Merrick had wrapped his chains around each of the thing's wings, immobilizing it long enough for Lena to cave in its chest with a ball of pure force. The three friends regrouped, and, after assuring each other that they were all okay, turned to Isaac. Was that all of them? Jade asked, panting. No, Isaac murmured, eyes fixed on the church. There should be one more, the ringleader. It was then that they all heard the deep, throaty laughter. They looked up in unison to see another werebat standing atop the church. This one, however, was not like the others. It was enormous, with long clawed fingers extending from its wings. Its red eyes shone brightly, and the sunlight gleamed off of fangs that were too large to be contained in a single mouth. Then it spoke. Vaskaladoon, Isaac, it rumbled. What in the pit is it saying? What language is that? Asked Merrick. Thar speech, replied Isaac, a language of fiends. Dunu kashokorotan? Hakos niro shakta. Shakta, Isaac, the beast boomed and laughed again. Isaac raised his bow and fired a bolt, but the bat, moving with surprising speed for such a large being, dodged it easily. The others readied their weapons as well, but Isaac held up a hand. You three have already earned your pay. This one is mine, he said. After a moment's hesitation, the others stepped back. Isaac did not seem the kind of man they wished to cross. The great werebat launched itself from the roof, diving toward Isaac, but the old man sidestepped and fired, managing to lodge a few bolts in his foe's side. The monster scarcely seemed to notice. It landed near Isaac and quickly darted forward, slashing out with one claw. The man was not quite quick enough this time. Although he dove back fast enough to avoid the worst of the blow, the talons still raked across his chest, opening 3 long, bloody cuts there. He responded by loading 3 fresh bolts into his bow and firing them into the giant thing's stomach. This time the werebat noticed. The wounds began to steam, and he let out a grunt of shock and pain. Gah! Toko Kazrik! It snarled. Talking fake, made-up fantasy language gets my tongue all messed up.
Indeed.
Silver arrowheads
So
tipped
I'll
with
never do it.
silver arrowheads tipped with holy water, Isaac yelled, firing a few more into the man-bat's thick pelt. Then, in a flash of movement, the beast kicked out, knocking the weapon from the old man's hand before lunging forward, fangs bared for a deadly bite. Isaac stood his ground, however, and rammed a fist down the fiend's gullet. Isaac, no! Shouted Jade, rushing forward with sword drawn. She was halfway to them when she saw the smoke billowing from the werebat's mouth. Isaac quickly pulled his arm out, revealing an empty flask clutched in his hand. The monster opened its mouth again as if to say something, but all that came out was a strangled gargle as the sanctified water from the flask burned its way through the thing's insides. Slowly it crashed to the ground. Jade sheathed her blade and closed the remaining distance. Are you okay? She asked. Isaac gave a curt nod and retrieved his crossbow. That thing, could you understand it? What did it say to you? Isaac was silent for a long moment, checking his weapon for damage. Finally, he spoke. It told me that my wife is dead, murdered. Jade was shocked. By the gods, Isaac, surely he was lying. Isaac shrugged. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. It's hard to say with fiends. You don't seem particularly worried. I haven't seen my wife in years. Decades, even. Oh, Jade replied, unsure of what else to say. We had a son. Something happened to him. I blamed her, came to hate her for it. It tore us apart, destroyed us. I could never look at her the same way again, so I left. He sighed. But if the beast spoke true, I must know. Why? Jade asked softly. If you hate her so much, why do you care? Because if she's been murdered, I believe I know the man who did it. And if I'm correct, it's a man I've been looking for a very long time. Finn.
Oh, shit. Now you've got at least 2 stories that are to be continued.
Indeed.
Maybe more.
Yeah. Definitely,
Definitely at least 2.
Yeah, I definitely wrote this one with an idea of the sequel, like, already in mind.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like, honestly, I don't know. Reading it just now, it seemed maybe a little bit better than I was giving it credit for. I didn't really like it when I wrote it.
You were giving it a lot of shit. It was alright.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I kind of, like, rushed the ending. And that's what I was unsatisfied with. But, yeah, like, it was definitely something that I wrote as a build-up to something else. I wanted to introduce Isaac. And then, along the way, I decided to make all these other guys, like, Rocket Punch Knight Lady.
Yeah.
Alright.
I like the rogue guy.
Oh, Merrick, yeah, his gauntlets.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Or fan braces, I guess. Yeah, I like those too, actually. I kind of want him to, like, I initially were just like, I'm just going to have 3, like, random dudes come with him that won't be important. But now I like the armor and the bracers, so I kind of want at least those 2 to come back. The mage lady, she's not really anything special.
Yeah. So far, between, like, all of our stories, we've had, like, 1 mage that was interesting, and it was that guy from your first story. Oh, no, Cinder was alright.
Oh. Cinder the Pyromancer?
Yeah. Pun Romancer. Alright, so, go ahead and play up that sorry, not intro music. Transition music.
Doo-doo. Doo-doo, 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 doo-doo. Doo-doo.
You wanted to! Okay. You okay?
Yeah. I'm just glad that happened.
Okay. Did you name your story?
Oh, no.
Okay. Do you want to name it now?
My story was called, The Man-Bat Batman of Western Kyrat.
Alright.
Subtitle, Bats and Men, Men and Bats. Colon,
Jesus.
The Battening.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, what's your story titled?
No, it doesn't have a title. It's called Just a Little Longer. ... 3 dots.
Oh.
Ellipsis. Alright. Just beyond the outskirts of the Grinwald's capital city, Nordua, there's a large nameless forest. Inside this forest is the main base of the ancient order of the Bloodkeepers. The Bloodkeepers are an exclusive and powerful order of magical beast hunters. They hunt magical beasts, not our magical beasts and hunters.
I'm way into this already. Dude, you're dropping some serious lore right off the bat.
Yeah. It's, wanted to toss in some important stuff. Capital City. What?
I know. Bananas.
Yeah.
I didn't even name my town that I was just in.
Yeah. They don't go to the States. It's just nearby. It's the closest place, made it convenient. Let's see, where was I? Alright. At its most plentiful, the Order had no more than 20 of the most powerful warriors and mages. Among these warriors is the legendary Runa Bladesong, a mighty huntress of lichens. Runa is an elf from the new wave of elves 7 years earlier, who quickly made a name for herself by slaying the two ancient wolfmen brothers, Staggerpaw and Blood for Blood.
Okay. Couple of things that I gotta say right out of the gate here. First of all, love this ancient magical order. Second of all, love the reference to your first story. Third of all, awesome names for Wolfman brothers. Fourth of all, we both have a lot of strong female characters. I like that.
Yeah. Dude, ladies are fucking badass. I always play as ladies.
You do,
especially
that's true.
when it's third person. I don't want to stare at a dude's ass all day. It's digital lady ass, but it's still better than digital dude ass. It's just me. It's not just me. I know it's definitely other people. My eyes are burning a little. Cut this out. No, don't leave it in. Alright. She is armed with the werewolf slaying weapons called Gottle, a pair of heavy curved silver scimitars, as well as a huge repeating crossbow, roughly half the size of her body. Hidden under her clothes is her chainmail suit made from dwarven black steel.
I'm way into this.
Runa was in the Bloodkeeper's main lodge studying her lycanthropy books when Borgnath, the orc, approached her. Hey Runa, still trying to find a cure for werewolfism? He started sarcastically. When are you gonna learn that the only real cure for that junk is the axe on my back? He slammed his battle axe into the table beside her book. Runa sighed. Of course I'm still trying to cure this horde curse. Something like this is the only way to put an end to their uncontrollable rampage, without need to bring death and despair to everyone. And I must continue my husband's work. This brought a dead silence to the already quiet lodge, until an older man charged down from the floor above. Runa, he's been spotted. Agents have reported sightings of the albino nightmare in the southwest corner of our forest. Runa quickly rose from her seat, closing her book. That being said, she spoke. Right now, all I can do to protect the innocents of Grinwald's is to kill, to be an instrument of death. And she bolted through the door into the night. As she left from one tree branch to another, her thoughts returned to her past, her husband, Bosch. He was an accomplished alchemist who worked tirelessly to cure lichens, while Runa slaughtered them mercilessly. But one day, Bosch's experiments went wrong. Many of his vials and beakers exploded, splashing on him and burning him, and as a result, he continued to suffer from lycanthropy. In fact, it made him a hyperlichen, which is in Wolfman form for all but 1 day a year.
That's terrible.
That's a lot of lichens. Fucking awesome. But yeah, also awful. Dog. Runa shook off these thoughts as she approached the edge of the forest. After scanning the area quick... Damn it, Daisy.
Daisy is Tyler's dog.
She's whining a lot.
Yeah.
She needs to shut up. Don't you need to shut up, Daisy? Anyway, after scanning the area, she quickly spotted the hulking white-furred wolf. She approached it quietly and from above, but when she looked down at it, it dodged nimbly out of the way. They faced each other and circled like in every movie where people fight, and the Star Trek fight music played in the background. I don't know how that goes. I can think of it, but I can't do it, you know? Then suddenly, Runa felt a sharp claw rake across her back. She fell to the ground and rolled to face her new aggressor, a werewolf with gray fur and yellow fur on its hands in the shape of lightning bolts. Its face was covered in gashes and scars, and its eyes had been cut out from its face. But on the center of its forehead lay a vertical eye, where its skin had been cut open, peeled back, and stapled. Staggerpaw! Screamed Runa. You should be dead! Staggerpaw roared, and with it came a torrent of thunder and lightning. Runa closed her eyes and braced herself, but felt nothing. Upon opening her eyes, she saw the white wolf blocking the blast from her.
Real quick. Undead lightning werewolf?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
He's fucking awesome. Love Staggerpaw. Let's see. The wolves attacked each other in a frenzy of claws and bites. And when Runa got to her feet, she rushed forward, leaping over the white one, and thrust the twin blades Goddle into Sagarpaw's shoulders. Back flipped off of the sword's hilts, and then fired a crossbow 3 times into its eye. When she landed, Staggerpaw exploded, launching Goddle into the ground on both sides of her. She grabbed the scimitars and turned to face the albino nightmare, who was slowly approaching. The sun started to rise from behind him, and his fur and claws started to retract. His wolf face became that of a man. Runa's eyes filled with tears as she rushed towards him. Bosh, you're really alive! They held each other as the sun rose in the forest. Runa, said Bosh, I've missed you dearly, but I've killed so many people. If I'm left like this, I'll continue to kill more and make people suffer. So, this must be my last day. Bosh, I understand. As long as I can spend your last hours with you, I can be happy. They spent their last day together as husband and wife. They sat at the cliff's edge facing the ocean as the sun started to set. Should we do this before it's too late? Asked Bosh. Runa stayed silent, and as Bosh turned to look at her, he saw tears streaming down her face. Just a little longer. Then.
Oh, that was awesome. That was that hit all the right notes, man. There's cool lore and cool undead lightning wolf. And sad. Dig it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think
sad ending.
Yeah. I think that means that it's question time.
Question time.
All right.
So, what was that super knight thing order called again?
The Knights of Arthak.
Knights of Arthak. What kind of presents do they have in Chiron?
They are, they're sort of like your Blades and Charians a bit.
Oh, yeah.
They're not as guild-like, but it's like people know about the Knights of Arthak or whatever. Like if you say like, "Oh, I'm a Knight of Arthak," then people are like impressed. They're not super widespread. They're sort of like the A team.
A-team?
Yeah, if you need them and can find them, then they'll come to your aid or whatever.
So is she like Mr. T or?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, they're.
I pity the fool.
It's like you can't just go and join up. You have to be invited.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fucking exclusive.
Yeah. They don't have like, guild halls in like a lot of places or whatever, but they have their own like city kind of thing. Like they have a fortress.
Oh shit.
That's just like the Fortress of Arthak or whatever, and if you can like prove yourself in combat, then they'll find you wherever you are and like get you an invitation to join their ranks. But you have to do something really cool. Like not just anybody can join.
It's the kind of like Dark Brotherhood in Oblivion.
Yeah.
Except you have to do something really cool instead of just kill some guy.
Yeah.
Any random guy.
Yeah. And you have to like go through like an initiation process. Like after you've been invited.
Is it like frat boy hazing?
No, it's not to prove your skill because you've already like done that to get the invitation. It's
Right.
more a way of like determining your like strong points so that they can give you like the appropriate weapons and armor and send you on the right kinds of tasks. You do gain a certain amount of autonomy though. I mean, like Jade was just out traveling with her other friends. You're pretty much free to do that unless the knights like specifically summon you to do something else. You're kind of like, unless you're sent on like a specific mission, you're kind of just supposed to wander and do good wherever you can.
Okay, so they're a force of good doers.
Right.
Do-gooders.
Right.
All right.
Anything else?
I think I'm good.
Okay. So what's the deal with Undead Staggerpaw? What happened there?
He was fucking really badass.
Was he just too awesome to like die, so he came
Yes.
back?
Yes, he was.
What was up with the eye thing? Like, did he? Was that from when he was alive, or was that like?
No, that was new.
Okay.
And also very unexplained.
Is all this unexplained because you didn't bother to think of anything for it, or because you don't want to give anything away that might come up in later stories?
Yes. Both.
All right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, also, I fucking named her, like, swords and shit. It's an acronym. It's Genocide of the Lycan Enemy.
Oh, nice.
Got it.
I
With
was
an E.
I was kind of wondering about that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it didn't come up.
I'm Well, now you got me interested about.
Staggerpaw?
Yeah,
I love Staggerpaw.
I want to know what's going on with that now.
Yeah, he might not even be dead this time.
Yeah.
He's still pretty awesome when he died again, I mean. It's the rules, right? If you're awesome enough, you don't die.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you really do, but you come back. Also, when he died, it reminded me of Power Rangers. I didn't really think about it until afterwards.
All right. So, next prompt. What's it going to be for next month?
Morphin' time? No, I've been thinking about it. I've had a hard time deciding. I think might go with invisible assholes.
What?
Yeah, they have to be invisible and they have to be dicks.
All right. Well,
or at least able to turn invisible. Because if they were invisible the whole time, it might not be great.
So, yeah. Tune in next month or whenever it goes up.
Right.
We've been kind of running behind on these. It's my fault. I haven't been getting images for them.
For the one that we had.
Right.
We're not that far behind.
Yeah.
As we mentioned before, this is not a regularly scheduled thing to go up.
Right. So
roughly one a month, maybe.
Tune in next month. Yeah, tune in next time for Invisible Villains, Invisible Jerk Faces. All right.
Yeah.
We'll see you then.
You won't see us.